From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In the NOCO. I'm Erin O'Toole. Fire crews have been working around the clock to contain several wildfires that have erupted on the Front Range in the last week. And while our guest today doesn't work directly with wildfires, she does have an important role in fire safety.
Ash, come here. Seek.
This is Ash.
The food pouch that has the food that I reward her with when she's working.
Ash is the state's newest employee in the Division of Fire Prevention and Control. And she and her handler, Matt Morgan, paid me a visit recently.
So this is basically 50% evaporated gasoline.
Ash started on July 1st as the division's newest accelerant detector tool, meaning she can sniff out if something suspicious was used to start a fire. Her powerful nose can help determine a fire's cause. And right now, she's the sole canine detection tool for the entire state's fire protection division, so she's got a big job.
Did you hear that little blowout?
I did.
Yeah. So that's her clearing her nose passage to get a good scent, and then she'll sit right there where it is.
Her handler, Matt Morgan, is a fire investigator with the Division of Fire Prevention and Control. We sat down after this training session to talk about Ash's work with the division. Ash is such an adorable yellow lab. Why are labs such an ideal breed for detecting accelerants or ignitable liquids?
Because they have a very distinct nasal channel, and they are very perceptive to at least 12 different ignitable liquids that they can detect. So if you and I smelled pizza, she could smell all the ingredients that make up a pizza.
Like down to the flour and...
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. So how do you go about training a dog to sniff out a potentially suspicious fire? I mean, what is that process like?
Well, you start out with what we call basics, meaning when a dog is at a young age, like she is, or when she was in training, that you put drops of evaporated gasoline, maybe on a cotton ball inside of a can, and sit down and have the dog come and sniff it. And if she pays attention to that odor, then you reward her with a couple pieces of food. And then that gets them, hey, maybe if I do this often, I will get fed more. And that's how you start them out.
My dogs are very food motivated, but I don't know if it would be discerning enough to do that. If a fire investigator doesn't have a dog, there are mechanical ways to kind of ferret out these possible accelerants. What do you think makes a dog superior?
Well, a dog versus a mechanical device, an accelerant detector or a hydrocarbon detector, will only pick up certain things. You have to constantly calibrate it, because if it gets too strong of an odor on that device, you would have to recalibrate it to where it will work properly again, where a canine can actually pick up all kinds of hydrocarbons or chemicals. You know, your everyday couches and everything made now, the dogs can detect all those chemicals that make up of those products.
So I am curious to know if there's data that shows dogs are effective in finding potential arson cases.
Yes, it all comes down to if a dog alerts in a fire on some ignitable liquids, you go the extra step, and whatever samples you take have to be submitted to a laboratory, and the laboratory will verify if those are indeed ignitable liquids and what they are. And that's your proven factor in that. If the dog just alerts on something in a fire and you don't send it off to the lab and you end up going to court, it may not stand up in court because it isn't proven through a scientific method.
And so is Ash kind of helping forward that research?
That's correct, yes.
So how does Ash work on site? I mean, do you just turn her loose at the site of a fire and let her go, or how does that work?
No, typically on a fire scene, if we're called, my first priority is to make sure the environment is safe for her. No other animals, no other hazards that she could if she goes into a building, that she's not going to get hurt by, maybe needles on the ground or broken glass. That's hard. The broken glass is always a constant challenge, and to make sure that it's cool enough for her to go in there. She's not going to burn her paws or anything else like that. So when she gets on scene and we deem it safe, then she goes to work inside and conducts kind of an area search in and around the property.
And is she on the leash the whole time?
Yes. There are other handlers that there's nothing wrong with that. They've just been trained longer. But her being on a leash is just my way of communicating with her and her communicating with me, because my emotions and my everything that I do run right down that leash to the dog. So she can sense if I'm having a bad day and getting frustrated, then she might get frustrated and not work as hard. So it's a communication just by having the leash on her instead of just running around and, hoping that everything happens.
I want to point out she is hard at work investigating right now. Our photographer, Gabe, and
Just sat right onto my leg.
Yep. That's part of her therapy. She'll kind of lean into you and show you that she's there to calm you down if you were having a bad day, a lot of emotions at a fire scene. She could just simply go up and somebody petting her, and she'll lean up against them and just tends to calm them down and de-escalate the situation.
Have you ever met a family who maybe lost their home in a fire and they met Ash?
Yes. Occasionally we conduct interviews and kind of follow up and check on the individuals that may have lost their home or business in a fire. Her just being the presence of that will kind of de-escalate things and make people more at peace of, hey, it's going to be all right.
Ash is undeniably an excellent and invaluable employee for the state and a certified good girl. But I did learn during her visit that if Matt doesn't pay close attention, looking for that blowout she does after finding a scent, she might alert, giving a false positive when there's nothing actually there.
If she just sees me standing there, then she's just going to be like, oh, okay, well, all I got to do is sit, and they will lie to you. They will sit there and lie and just so they can get food. But if I keep my feet moving, that means, hey, we're working.
Ash and Matt have already had a very busy first month on the job, and they'll continue to be available as needed around the state. You can see photos of Ash in action, and she is remarkable to watch, at KUNC.org. And just a reminder, the KUNC newsroom is closely monitoring the wildfires burning along the Front Range. You can get the latest information throughout the day on the radio and online anytime at KUNC.org. That's it for us today on In the NOCO. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thank you so much for listening.